Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Welcome. It's Sunday afternoon and I thought I'd just have a little play. We spend a little bit of time together and we'll just do something nice and simple. Nothing complicated, just something relaxing and nothing too strenuous. Now, this doesn't have to be a card. These can go in your journal as well. So I know we make cards, but you can easily transfer those into your journal. You can cut these out and then I may even do some pieces where I cut them the size of a journal, where they're single sheets. Then you can either create your own journal or add them to your journal. But you can do exactly the same with this. You can make it into a little journal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Auricula stamp set TE2. I love this little stamp set. I'm going to take the stamp. I'm just going to decide where I would like, and it's just going to be something nice and simple, just for the sake of creating and enjoying the process. Now I'm using Kraft card, so Kraft card is very absorbent, so perfect for your VersaFine Clair inks. Now, anybody that orders from my website today or tomorrow until midnight, I'll be sending a handmade card, and a huge thank you to those of you that have already ordered. It is much appreciated from a very tiny business, so I really appreciate it. So I'm just giving this a really good inking. So let's just add the floral to our Kraft card, and I've got a little mask that I've done out of copier paper that I can use afterwards. Now this card is very absorbent, it sucks in the moisture, so I don't want to lift it too soon. I just want to make sure that the ink definitely grabs hold of the card and I don't miss a few of those areas. It's a very absorbent card. So let's just take, I've got all my masks just in my little wallet, and then I can use the same one over and over again, and all it is a piece of copier paper. And I could hold that down if I wished with some low tack tape at the back. So we'll just take the floral again. So just something nice and simple. Let's bring this one in a little bit, just so that it's, I don't want them exactly in line, just so that it looks a little bit different. And again, allowing that just to absorb onto the card. Sometimes we can lift too soon and then we don't get a good impression. And that's just because we've not given the ink time to just grab hold of that card. There we go. So I've got my, let's just get rid of that little bit of ink there, just so that we don't smudge that anywhere. And then I can use the same. There we go. That's it. Move it up so that you can actually see what I'm doing. Just giving that a really good inking. I never scrimp when I'm inking. Going to bring this out just around about there. And again, just giving that ink time to absorb onto that card. Go. So now I've got this mask that I can then keep for another time. Let me just wipe that up. Now let me just grab my micron pen. And I can see there's just a little bit of black I just missed there I'm just going to add that in. There we go. And I'm just trying to decide now whether I want, I've got the tiniest bit of Kraft card. I don't think it's going to go on there, to be honest. Don't think it'll fit. That's the smallest piece of Kraft card. It's nothing like being a skinflint and not wasting my card. So I just want to see if I want another auricula. So this is another piece of the Kraft card from cutting my pieces out. And I didn't mention that the Kraft card is 4 inches by 6 inches. So it's 4 by 6. Just giving that a good inking. And I'll cut this out and then decide whether I wish to use that. Sometimes I need a cut out piece and then I can just judge whether I want it or not. Okay, beautiful. Let me just grab... When I'm cutting my sort of layers and card blanks out, I often have strips like this from cutting the card. And I'm just wondering whether, and then that on top. So if I do I want to, don't cut it yet. Do you like how I talk to myself? So I keep these little bits that was cut from the bottom of cutting a card blank. So I often keep those little bits. So we'll just keep that at the moment. And then we'll just cut out this auricula. And it's a lovely, easy floral to cut out. Now, I'm not leaving an edge. I'm going right to the edge of the floral. And I often sometimes find it harder to keep in camera because I'm so used to pulling the card towards me. And I'm using Pergamano curved scissors. You could use nail scissors. I find the little smaller scissors easier to cut out. I know some of you like your bigger scissors. I can only use my bigger scissors if I'm cutting out a sentiment. I can't use the bigger scissors to cut out and get into the little nooks and crannies. I find them a bit cumbersome. Just cut that out. Now don't forget, we're just going for a nice simple idea. I'm going to use my Prisma colours. So when you're using your Prisma colours, it's important that the ink that you've got underneath is dry because it'll pick up some of those colours. It'll pick up the black ink, sorry. So let me just see then if I want that. Oh yes, you see, I already can see the composition developing. I can't get my words out. It is Sunday morning, you'll have to forgive me. I can't get my words out. So what I'm going to do is, that one was done last. So let's remove this. This one was done first, so should be drier. So I'm just going to add touches of my Prisma colour. And if you ever want to do anything really relaxing, this is just a lovely relaxing thing to do. Just add those layers of the white. And it just starts to bring the floral to life. Now, I'm not pressing on too hard, just going in a circular motion. And you can see that I'm not holding my pencil too far down and I'm not pressing on too hard. But it's a lovely, simple process. So while I'm doing this, let's waffle on about anything. So I'm going to talk about splattering. So I know some of you, you mention about the Posca pen, you can't get that to splatter. You do need to make sure that the Posca pen, you've worked it on your non-stick craft sheet so that the paint is flowing. Put the lid back on and give it a shake and then splatter. You need to remember when you're using your Posca paint pen that if you use that on a Distress Oxide background, then obviously it'll pick up the colour from the Distress Oxide. That's natural what the Distress Oxides do. However, I like that because then I get the tones of that and then I can use my bleed proof white, the Dr. Martens bleed proof, and then I can use that to add white on top. If you haven't got a Posca paint pen, you can use white paint or you can use gesso and just splatter your gesso, water it down a little bit and add some chalky white with your gesso. So there are always ways to sort of work with that. So I'm then going to take the final one, and again, nothing too difficult. And again, this could quite easily be a journal spread. And then you can have these to look back on for ideas. And that's why YouTube is a good source, because you can go to YouTube, and if you're to loose end for a few hours, there's lots of inspiration on my YouTube channel to give you ideas with your stamps. I don't know why I didn't do the centre of the other flowers. Obviously decided for some reason. There we go. So just adding a little bit of the white. Now, if you didn't want to do anything else, you could quite easily just leave it with the white. I love to add a pop of colour. But when I've added the white, I really don't need to add much colour. So let's grab our Prismacolors. No idea. Just see what takes my fancy. And I'll open every zip, because I always do. I open every zip before I tend to get the right colour. That's just me, naturally. I think the amount of times that I've unwrapped them, that I would know which one it was, but no. Right, there we go. So, what shall we do? Do you like how Tracy can't make her mind up? Let's have that. What colour are you? Crimson Lake, so a nice darkish colour. And let's have this Crimson Red. So the colours I'm going to use are PC925 Crimson Lake, PC924 Crimson Red. So just a dark and a lighter colour. I'm not even using 3 colours. And I'm going to give those a sharpen, she says. That's it. Just, I like it with a little bit of a sharper point, because it just works nicely and I can lay the colour down. So what I'm going to do is just lay the darker colour down. So let's just lay that down. Nothing too strenuous or complicated or anything. So this is the darkest of my colours, which was the Crimson Lake. So we'll just add the Crimson Lake. And it's so easy when you're doing a tutorial to not speak, because you get so engrossed with what you're doing, or Tracy does anyway. So let's bring in this one. And by adding that white, it just makes the colours a little bit more vibrant. You won't see that at the moment, but I've hardly got anything laid down at the moment. But I'm trying to show you how simple processes you can still get a reasonable result. So you can see I've only scribbled, doodled, or whatever you want to call it, that colour on there. And you can see where my fingers are on the pencil. I'm not pressing on too hard. I'm then going to go to my Crimson Red, PC924. And I'm just going to just add a little bit more of that red. And I do like having that sharper pencil. Just makes it a little bit easier. Just to add that colour. I think it's just all in my head really, but I do find it easier with a sharper pencil. And I'm not layering that colour down, because like with any card, I don't want to layer it down too thickly too soon, because you break down the card too quickly and then you can't add any other layers. So let's go to this, and let's not forget the centres this time, eh? And what I'm trying to show you is you don't have to be a professional colourist to get a reasonable result. Now, everybody's got different tastes. Some people don't like it too vibrant, and if you just like it subtle, then you can keep it subtle. So then I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a little bit more white now, just at the bottom, and come in to my colours. I think I'm just going to sharpen that a little bit. I've got a new Fandangle sharpener from my lovely friend Catherine, and I can't stop using it. It's just wonderful. So I'm not blending anything, and again I'm still not pressing too hard on this white. Now if you wanted to keep it nice and subtle, because you've got different taste, then now's the time you can just keep it nice and subtle. And if you wanted to press down a little bit harder on that white, then you could do, if you just wanted to keep it subtle. I want to add more layers of that colour. And I'm just enjoying myself. Being creative is just about enjoying the process. And I'm just enjoying it. Makes me happy. So when I bring the white in, I'm going into the other colours, but again, I'm not pressing too hard. Just to bring that colour in. I'm not pressing too hard at all. You know, and every card doesn't have to have loads of mediums on it. It can just be simple. Lovely way to spend a Sunday. I did try to go into the garden, but it was a little bit chilly. So when the wind blew, it was a little bit cool. Once it warms up a little bit more, I will get in that garden. I have been doing a little bit of tidying. But again, you can't do too much because we get any snow or... Because let's face it, we've had snow in March. If we get any snow or anything, then the plants struggle if they haven't got a little bit of protection. Right, so that is a very sort of pale colour. So what I'm going to do now is, I can tell when I mean business now, my fingers are coming down a bit further. I'm going to press on a little bit harder. But I'm not scratching the card so that the fibres break down. And what I'm going to do is just layer the colour a little bit darker. I'm laying that pigment a little bit darker. Just use that circular motion just to layer that colour a little bit darker. And, you know, some people may think I'm mad, but I do think... Well, not think, I do like to give the card time to rest a little bit before. So whilst I'm doing this one, that one's resting before I add the next colour. I don't know, it just stops me sort of pressing too hard on the card and breaking everything down too soon if I just give it time. That's probably in my head, but that's just me all over. So you just... And sometimes it's also important, whoever we are, to go back to basics sometimes and remember the basics, because some of the basic, you know, guidelines, we forget them, and then sometimes we wonder why the results aren't what we wanted. So I can already see the difference between that and this. That's because I didn't even add the other colour to this one either. So let's add the second colour to this. I knew there was something different about there. Plus we didn't add the white. So just not pressing down on this second colour on this. And then I'll just go back and add a little bit more of that white. Just so it's a little bit whiter. Again, I'm not going to press too hard. But I can already see the difference between that and that by adding a little bit more layers of that colour. So we'll just do this one now. So I couldn't make my mind up which way my floral was going. So I'm just going to bring in a little bit more of that pigment. And the Prisma pencils are lovely. They just layer beautifully. Right, so I've got that colour down. Now we'll give that time to rest, and we'll come back to these and we'll go to the second colour, which is the crimson red. And I'm just going to press a little bit harder and come into the first colour. Just press a little bit harder and blend out, sort of blend the colours so that we can't see that Kraft card through. So just using a circular motion. And the Prisma colours are lovely. for blending. They blend before your eyes, really. And they're just lovely. Now, don't cover all the white up because we want some of that white. Again, this is your project, so you can add as much or as little colour as you wish. So we just go round. Let's not forget the centre. And then we'll go to this one. So we're building that up. And you can see that you're sort of filling in the fibres of the card, the open areas. There we go. Again, don't cover up all that white because you're going to add in the white much thicker. There we go. And then what I'm going to do, go back to the top one, and now I'm going to press the final pressure just of that dark one, just to give a little bit more of the dark. Just a little bit more. In fact, I don't know whether I actually need the dark, but we'll just add a little bit more of that dark. And then a little bit more of the dark. Just around the centre. Of course, I forgot this area here. So just add a little bit of dark just around here. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spend some time with the white. So now I'm going to give the final layer of white. And what happens is, as you come into this, it pales this colour down and goes into the pinks. I still need to sharpen that. There we go. So as you press down a little bit more now, you sort of blend the edges and it blends that into sort of a pinky colour to give another sort of tone of that colour, and it just blends it beautifully. And the Kraft card obviously is a little bit more scratchy because it's just the nature of the beast. But that then blends beautifully with that white. So we'll come into here. And just blend that in. And it just gives me a lovely blend. And I love the pop of white because that just gives some life to the design. And it removes the straight lines from your colouring. It smooths that out. Really smooths that out. Just lovely. And if you're looking for something really simple to do, this is it. And it makes such a difference adding that white. It really does. It really makes a difference. Compared to that, just makes a huge difference. You can tell I use the white quite a lot, can't you, by the size of the pencil? Really works well. I love my white pencil. It just blends out those lines beautifully. Let's just... Now, because we've let the top one rest a little bit, we could may be able to go in a little bit more. So you may be able to go in a little bit more, because I didn't break down the card too much, so I can go in and I can even add a little bit more, just to make that a little bit whiter. If the colour doesn't lay down anymore, you've probably already pressed hard enough and the pigment won't lay down anymore. Mine's definitely laying down a little bit more. Let me just now do a bit of work on this one. And I love colouring. Just find it so therapeutic. There we go. And then we should use our gel pencil pen, but we'll use that in a second. So I'm going to add this here, like so. So I'm going to, if that's going to go there. Okay, let's take this off. And let's grab that auricular text. Grab my little A7 acrylic block. She says, grab that A7 acrylic block. So, I'm going to have that. And yes, and I'm talking to myself. It's natural. Stamp that auricula on there. Oh, I just love Kraft card. And then I can add this here. Right, so let's take our adhesive and just add the adhesive. Press that down. There we go. And then we've got our little tab on there, which I just love. I can then just, let's just cut down a few of the petals, just so that we can just make them just a little bit more, that's it, a bit more crimped. And then I can add this here so that you can still see the auricula. But before I do that, I'm going to take that auricula stamp again. Let's just give that a little bit of a wipe. And then I'm going to use, where are you? I'm going to use my pine cone ink. Let's grab a little bit of copier paper. Let me just, sometimes I always test on here just to see what the first and second generation. So I want the second generation. So we've got the pine cone ink. Press off the first generation, and then I'm going to bring in the second generation stamping. So ink that up with the pine cone, stamp off the first, bring in the second generation stamping. Once again, press off the first, bring in the second generation stamping, because you want the second generation stamping because you want it to appear in the background. You don't want it to appear in the foreground because this is in the foreground here. And you can see it makes it appear more in the background. So ink, blot, stamp. So again, ink, blot, stamp. And you know, I think that's enough. We can bring in our floral that I can now add. You don't have to add pin flare glue if you don't wish. It's entirely up to you. But I'm going to add a little bit of that pin flare glue. And you can see that I've not added any white touches with the gel pen yet, mainly because I'm just trying to give the card a little bit of time just to rest on there. And I can have that with a little bit of dimension. And then we'll try some of our gel pen. Where's my bit of copier paper? And just add some little dots of white just to give a little bit of vibrancy. And if you're unsure where to put lines or whatever, if you put a few dots on, that'll work as well. I'm just going to add a few very light. This is why obviously you would do it before you placed your floral on because it makes it far easier for you. But just adding those touches of white just to make everywhere pop. When the recipient receives this, the touches of white really do really make a difference. Now, ridiculous really for me with my pin flare glue on to try and add the white, but I'm going to anyway. You should do this before adding the pin flare. Just add a few little scratches of white, a few little dots, just to add to that. And then we'll add a few splatters. Now again, you can add your gesso and do it with your gesso or with your Posca pen. It's entirely up to you. Let's add a few there. There you go, and you can see you can put something over your wording if you wish. So for instance, this wording here, so that you don't get splatters over it, if that makes it easier for you. There we go. Just so that you can see. Of course, we need to add this to a matten layer. So this is 4 by 6. And if I add this to a white layer, it then just pops against that white layer because you've got the white in the card. So let's add that to our white card blank. If you wanted to, you could just get rid of the bit underneath, but I'm going to keep that because I just like it anyway. So let's just adhere just hold on to that, and then I can place that just. I like to lift it up. I often find it easier if I lift up. Try not to touch the white splatters. Sometimes you'll do things in demo, especially if you're doing the live demo, which you wouldn't do at home. So you wouldn't try and sort of attach your matten layer when you've got Posca paint pen that's wet. It dries pretty quickly on the Kraft, but doesn't it look just lovely with that pop of white against it? I'm then going to add that to a 5 by 7 inch Kraft card blank, like so. Just trying to decide whether I want it like that or I want it. No, I think I want it. Do I want it like that or do I want it like that? Oh no, I'm going to offset it like that. So I'm going to offset that. Just make it look a little bit different. And let's just add a bit of adhesive here. Like so, it looks quite nice offset just for a change. And then I'm just going to take my Posca pen and I just want a few, that's better, a few splatters there, let's see. And let's just have a few splatters going onto the card, just at the edges, that's it. Just so that it looks part of the card. And then all as I want to decide, let's grab some kitchen roll. just love the card. And then what I'm going to do is try and find a stamp that, you know, I've got everything all over the place. Grab my other A7 stamp set, which is the Fronds or Fern TE3. It's actually called Fern. Let's take that. Let's grab that brown ink again. And this time we'll grab some white card. So let's move our card out of the way. Take our fern. There's nowhere to put everything. I've got everything everywhere. I'm going to take the brown ink again, which is the pine cone. If you haven't got VersaFine Clair, you can use your Distress Oxide. Obviously this is a permanent ink, the Distress Oxide isn't, but just for the stamping purposes it doesn't matter. Just add the brown. Doesn't it look lovely stamped in the brown? Just look how lovely that looks. Let's just cut away some of that card, mainly because it makes it easier to cut out. And then I'm going to cut the fern. And I'm aware it's not very interesting for you to watch me cut a fern out, so you can fast forward this bit if you wish. But this fern is just going to bring a little bit more life to the design, because it's got that pop of white in there. As I cut around it and leave a white border, it's got that pop of white in there that will echo the white that's in the matte and layer, and just bring that a little bit more life to the design. And to be honest, it's not difficult to cut out, because you just go in and out. And when it's near the top, the suggestion of going in and out is enough. You sort of need to go in and out because it looks more like the fern then. And I'm going to cut these out so that they're two pieces of fern rather than one. And I do tend to find it easier if I move my card. Just makes it far easier for me. So I'm going to make this one frond. Let me just bring the card in. And what this will do is it'll just bring a little bit of life and white. I'm just leaving it there for the moment. I've not decided where it's going. And then I'm just going to cut out the bigger fern. That's quite a good size for an A7 stamp. Works quite well. And this could quite easily be in your journal, and your journal could be your inspiration journal. It doesn't have to be a journal in the sense of the word, you know, where you've got 25 mixed layers. It could be your journal of inspiration, where you place your pieces in the journal, you look back on them, and then when you need a little bit of you time away from everything, you can go to your journal and you can pick one of the pages and adapt it and do it again, but maybe adapt some of the ideas so that you've got a different idea. I've got all my videos I can look back on, which, believe it or not, even when I look back on my own videos, it can set me off on another tangent, and I can watch something and think, oh, what if? And it sets me off a different way. So this bit of white is going to bring some life to that. There we go. Cut this out. And it's like me, when you place an order this weekend, I'll send one of my handmade stamps. And I love it. I love wrapping them up and sending them to you. It makes me feel happy. Right, let's just cut that out. There we go. So I've now got a couple of pieces of fern. And if I add like that, it just brings a little bit of life. So what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of adhesive at the bottom. Oh, nearly dropped that then. Tuck that in a little bit, but don't stick it down there at the top, just so it's got a little bit more life. There we go. Let's just push that adhesive up so we don't get any air pockets. And for me, that is all that needs. If you wanted to add a bird, you could add a bird, but for me, that is just enough. So I hope you enjoyed the process and spending a little bit of time with me. I look forward to seeing your interpretation. Love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.